Hey guys, welcome to another edition of the Monday Morning Tennis Rant. And I want to start off by telling you that if you haven't seen the matches yesterday and you watch this video, there's going to be a spoiler. So do not click on my Monday Morning Tennis Rants if you want to watch the matches that happened on Sunday later. I've been accused of spoiling the result. People record the matches on the DVR and then they blame me for spoiling the result. Listen. Don't click on the video if you haven't seen a match. All right, now let's talk about something that I've been talking about a lot this year, and finally I'm going to talk about it publicly, and that's Coco Gauff's forehand. And for you guys that haven't watched a WTA match, it was a great match between two great players, and Coco Gauff has been on absolute fire this summer. She won Washington, and now she wins Cincinnati. It's a 500 and 1,000. She's arguably playing the best tennis of her career. But Coco had a really tough 2023 and she had a lot of struggles on her forehand side. And of course, the way social media is these days, people were going crazy talking about how bad Coco's forehand is, especially in the match in Miami. There was all these threads on Twitter how Coco needs a new coach, the forehand needs to be restructured, it's WTA style, the racket's going too far behind the body, her grip is too extreme, and so on and so on. There was a lot of hate thrown in her on social media, especially on Twitter, but also on Instagram. So on my private Intuitive Tennis Premium membership WhatsApp group, somebody asked me, hey Nick, is there anything wrong with Coco Gauff forehand? And I just didn't want to say, no, there's nothing wrong or there's something wrong without knowing whether there's something wrong. So this led me to do some analysis of her forehand, just so I can give a more correct answer. So I took some recent clips of Coco from Indian Wells and from Miami, and I studied her forehand, and I found no technical flaws on her forehand. The forehand was fundamentally sound. Now, was her forehand good at that period of the year, you know, the beginning of the year, and then Indian Wells, Miami, going into the French Open? And no, her forehand was not good. So you're probably thinking, Nick, how can a fundamentally sound forehand not be good? But this goes back to something that I talk about on my channel all the time, and this is the 4 causes of errors. So the first cause of errors is technique. Do you sometimes see technical deficiencies on the Pro Tour? Yes, you do, but it's very rare. The second cause of error is footwork or positioning. Do you see this sometimes on the professional tour? Yes, but only under specific circumstances. For example, yesterday, even Alcaraz, under exhaustion, he had some bad footwork late in the 3rd set, or maybe if somebody is extremely tight and anxious, you'll see some bad footwork, but this is something that you don't see very frequently. Now, the third cause of error is shot selection. And this is something that you see across all tennis levels, even at the absolute highest level of tennis. And what is shot selection? Well, when you go for the wrong shot at the wrong time. One example is maybe if you're too far behind the baseline and you try to hit a down-the-line forehand winner, this is going to be a tough shot to make consistently, and you're going to commit a lot of mistakes. And now, most importantly, the 4th cause of error is your mental game. A stroke can get in your head and you can lose confidence over it, and you can tense up, and all of a sudden you start committing a ton of mistakes on that particular stroke. And that is exactly what was happening with Coco. People were trying to fix a stroke that doesn't need any fixing, and all this talk about the forehand and this constant drama about it. I mean, on Facebook, I saw a post where somebody secretly recorded a training session with Coco and one of her coaches behind the fence, and they were doing all kinds of things to her forehand. Look, this is a good lesson for anybody that's watching this video. If your stroke is fundamentally sound and you start tinkering with it, you can make it worse. Also, if your stroke is fundamentally sound and you obsess thinking about your stroke in a negative way, this can destroy your confidence in the stroke. Now, luckily, Coco is now coached by one of the greatest coaches in the history of tennis, and that is Brad Gilbert. And in a recent interview, Brad Gilbert was asked, what did you change on Coco Gauff's forehand? And Brad Gilbert said, absolutely nothing. In fact, I didn't even mention the forehand, and we never talked about it. And there you can see how much of a genius Brad Gilbert is, because he identified the problem. The simple fact that Coco was obsessing on her forehand, it was definitely in her head. He didn't even talk about the forehand with her, and guess what happened? The confidence in her forehand came back, and now she's playing the best tennis of her life, and the forehand issues are a thing of the past. Now, one other thing that I want to mention, something that I noticed throughout this year, that Coco had trouble with her forehand in singles, but then I would watch her play doubles, and Coco is a phenomenal doubles player, and she was ripping forehand winners in doubles and not making many forehand mistakes in doubles. So that, to me, was proof right there that this is a confidence thing, and it was only a matter of time until she regained her confidence in her forehand and started winning a lot more matches again. Now, normally my Monday morning rants don't get too technical, but I'm going to talk about technique for 1 second, and I want to explain to you guys that context is very important when we're talking about technique. And people that view Coco's backswing, that's WTA style, as wrong because it goes behind the body, or people that view her grip as wrong because her hand is underneath the handle, are normally viewing this from their perspective. So let me explain it to you this way. If you have a Eastern forehand grip or a semi-Western forehand grip, and now just for fun you put your hand underneath the racket in a Western grip and try to hit a few forehands, the ball is going to go in the bottom of the net. Why? Because your wrist is going to be in a different position at the moment of contact. It's going to be in a position that's suited to your grip. You have the muscle memory already built, your stroke is already automated, where without even conscious thought, when you make contact, the wrist is going to be in the wrong position because of your old grip. And now in your Western grip, everything is going to go in the bottom of the net. So of course, if that's the case for you, the Western grip is a horrible idea. Now, let's say that you're a male player and you have a take back that drops on the hitting side of your body. And now just for fun, you try to take the racket behind your body, more WTA style. What's going to happen is that you're going to hit every ball late. So is it a good idea for you to take the racket further back? Absolutely not. This longer back take back will absolutely destroy your forehand. Now here's the important context. If someone is using the Western grip from day one, if someone has a larger take back from day one, the situation is completely different. The body is calibrated completely different. This is why Coco is able to be in the top 10 for many, many years with her forehand, and hundreds of other WTA players, most noticeably Marketa Vondrousova winning Wimbledon on a super fast surface with a classic WTA style takeback. Was she late? Do you think she can win Wimbledon and with a forehand that's late all the time because she's a long takeback? No. She's had that takeback from day one, and she's not late. Her forehand is perfectly calibrated to that takeback, and for that reason, it's not a wrong takeback for that player. So this is something that I've been discussing in my private WhatsApp group with my students, because it can be confusing, right? Tennis technique can get quite complex, but the good news is that, like I already said, Brad Gilbert, the author of Winning Ugly, one of the best tennis books that's ever been written, is one of the best coaches that I've ever seen. The impact that he has had on Coco in this short amount of time, I mean, from playing mediocre tennis to now playing the best tennis of her life. Gilbert deserves a lot of respect. A lot of you guys often ask me, Nick, what's a good way to get in tennis shape? And I have a great video on my YouTube channel called Getting Back in Shape. I highly recommend that you watch that one. But today I want to present to you something that I learned recently, that it's good to get in tennis shape, but it's also good to preserve your bone health, and that is to walk around with a bulletproof vest in a rough neighborhood. Just kidding. This is not a bulletproof vest. This is a weight vest. This is a 40-pound weight vest that I bought. I'm going to put a link in the description, an Amazon link. I'm not affiliated with this brand, but it comes with these sand packs that you put in the pockets, and you can customize it how you want. You can put as little or as much weight in the vest as you want, and according to One of my nutrition doctors that I follow religiously, called Dr. Esselstyn, he recommended that it's good to walk around with weight to preserve your bone health. So now that I'm getting a little bit older, I am including this into my weekly workout regimen. But I want to finish off this Monday morning rant by talking about one of the greatest best of 3 tennis matches that I've ever seen. And it was yesterday's Cincinnati final with Alcaraz and Djokovic. The match that I can compare it to is the 2009 Madrid semifinal between Nadal and Djokovic that lasted 4 hours and 3 minutes. And this match came pretty close to the 4-hour mark as well. And coincidentally, this week, a post on Twitter from John Wertheim blew up where he presented a research where somebody went around and asked American tennis players how they would fare against professionals, whether they can win a game and so on. And the whole thing about delusional tennis fans got a lot of people talking. This went somewhat viral. And it got a lot of former professional players enraged. I don't know if you saw the Andy Roddick clip on the Tennis Channel, but there were other tennis players that commented on this. And I think the crux of the issue is that, unfortunately, tennis doesn't look as tough on TV as it is on reality. And when I watch Djokovic and Alcaraz play, and when I see, for example, Djokovic round down every ball, round down a drop shot, slide, be completely out of breath under very, very humid and tough conditions, only to 20 seconds later do it again. Guys, yesterday's match came as close to humanly impossible level of tennis as it can get. The only other time where I thought that it was humanly impossible to play tennis was the Madrid semifinal, but yesterday's match came pretty close. Again, I don't want to be repetitive in my rants. Watch my rant after the Wimbledon final. It is an absolute blessing that we have Alcaraz, that we can have matches like this. It is absolutely astonishing that Djokovic can maintain the level at his age where he's able to beat someone like Alcaraz. I have no words but admiration, and as a tennis fan, I'm super happy that we get to witness these matches, and hopefully we get a repeat in the US Open final of the Wimbledon final and the Cincinnati final, because Alcaraz against Djokovic is the absolute best that tennis has to offer right now. That's only until Rafa comes back.